Good evening, all of you. Good evening. Can we continue? Am I audible and visible? Hello? Can we start this evening session, the last session of the day? 2 hours. Am I audible and visible? Hello? Am I audible and visible? Yeah, Sahil, good evening. Satyanarayana, audible and visible. Okay, great. So I spoke to you about, oh my God. So we spoke about the pre-Maurya period before the break. So let us continue from here onwards. Let us discuss the PPT. So as I told you, the pre-Maurya period is also known as the age of second urbanization or the age of the Buddha. Pre-Maurya period is from 6th century BC to 3rd century BC. 600 BC, 600 to 300. It is also called the age of the Buddha. So Lord Buddha appeared during this period, including Mahavira, the founder of Jainism. So you have agricultural implements used to cut down forests. We have a lot of agriculture taking place in the Indo-Gangetic basin. So you have surplus food grains being grown, with which the kings could maintain a larger army, a larger bureaucracy. They could collect taxes from the people, and with that, they were able to maintain a larger army and a bureaucracy. Now we have a Buddhist book called Anguttara Nikaya. So this book, Anguttara Nikaya, gives a list of 16 states. 16 states. This is the name of a book, Anguttara Nikaya, Buddhist book. It names the Mahajanapadas, the 16 Mahajanapadas, Shadosha Mahajanapadas. So you can see on your screen, these are the Shodasha Mahajanapadas. 16, Shodasha is 16, Maha is large, and Janapada refers to territory, territorial state. Territorial state. So out of the 16, 11 were monarchies. 11 were monarchies, and the 5 were republics. 5 were republics. So I made a chart like this. You can see all these are the monarchies: Kashi, Koshala, Anga, Magadha, Ashmaka, Avanti, Chedi, Gandhara, Vatsa, Matsya, Shorasena. These are all the monarchies, 11 monarchies. And republics were these: Kuru, Panchala, Kamboja, Vajji, Malla. So republic is where the kingdom was small, the king was elected, there was a parliament which assisted the king in the discharge of his duties. So look at the map on your screen. This is the spread of these Mahajanapadas, North and Central India. They occupied North and Central India. Magadha is here. You can see here Magadha ruling over present regions of Bihar and Bengal. Avanti, the most serious rival of Magadha was Avanti. So initially we have Magadha, Koshala, Vatsa, Avanti. They competed for domination. Ultimately, it was Magadha which was able to defeat all these kingdoms, and it became the supreme power in North and Central India. Whoever ruled from Magadha was considered to be the greatest or the most powerful ruler of North and Central India. So, of course, we have in the northwest Kamboja and Gandhara. So let us look at the important kingdoms. I have made a chart for our convenience. So everything is not important. Whatever is important is there on in your PPTs. So Anga. So what was the capital of Anga? Champa. Champa was a capital. It had a monarchical form of government. It was captured by Bimbisar. We'll come to the political history in some time. So Anga. So Anga was here. Anga. You can see neighboring kingdom of Magadha, Anga, captured by Bimbisar. Mallas, they were a republic. Capital was Kushinagara and Pava. Kushinagara and Pava. Mallas ruled northeast UP. Vajji again was a republic. Capital was Vaishali. And Vajjis were the most powerful. It was a confederacy of 8 clans, the Vajjis, and the Lichavis were the most powerful of these Vajjis. So Vajjis were a confederacy of 8 clans. The biggest and the strongest were the Lichavis. Kashi was a monarchy. Capital was Varanasi, conquered by Koshala. So Kashi was conquered by Koshala later. It was in eastern UP. Then Magadha, capital Rajgir or Girivraja and little Pataliputra. It had a monarchical form of government. Koshala, capital was Shravasti. Ayodhya was an important city in Koshala. And Koshala conquered the Sakyas of Kapilavastu. So Koshala conquered the clan to which Lord Buddha belonged to, Sakya. He belonged to the Sakya clan. So Koshala conquered the Sakyas of Kapilavastu. And King Prasenjit was a contemporary of the Buddha. King Prasenjit of Koshala was a contemporary of the Buddha. Vatsa, it had a monarchical form of government. Capital was Kaushambi. So I have given you all the list here, most of the important kings. Avanti, a most serious rival of Magadha, main rival of Magadha. Avanti had a monarchical form of government. Capital Mahishmati and Ujjain. Mahishmati and Ujjain. Then Gandhara, the capital was Takshashila. It was a monarchy. Shaurasena, capital was Mathura. It was a monarchy again. Then Matsya, represented Rajasthan. Capital was Viratanagara. That is your Jaipur, what is now called Jaipur, Viratanagara. That was the capital of Matsya. It had a tribal polity. Chedi, Suktimati was the capital. It had a monarchy form of government. So these are the important Mahajanapadas in the 16th century. And out of these Mahajanapadas, in the 6th century, and out of these Mahajanapadas, Magadha became the most powerful kingdom. So factual information, it doesn't take much time to understand this topic. It's a small topic. So initially we have these kingdoms, Magadha, Koshala, Vatsa, and Avanti, competing with each other for domination, and ultimately it was Magadha which was able to prevail. So let us look at the early dynasties which ruled Magadha. Are you clear till here? Whatever I have done before the break and after the break, are you clear? Can you please raise your hands? Everything is okay? Audible, visible? Okay. Gia says yes. What about others? All are clear. So here, let us look at the dynasties which ruled Magadha. Haryanka dynasty, Shishunaga, Nanda, and Maurya. So on your screen, Haryanka dynasty. Who are the important kings of the Haryanka dynasty? Bimbisar, Ajatashatru, Udayin. So let me tell you the story of Haryanka dynasty. Look here on your screen. We'll discuss the PPT in some time. Just hold on and look here on your screen. So Bimbisar was the founder of the Haryanka dynasty. He was the founder of the Haryanka dynasty, Bimbisar. And he strengthened Magadha both through wars and matrimonial alliances. So through wars and matrimonial alliances. He strengthened Magadha both through wars and matrimonial alliances. Now, what do you mean by matrimonial alliances? He married into other princely families, and he got some territories as dowry. So here we are told that he had 500 wives. He had 500 queens. So those days it was possible because the king could do whatever he wanted. So he had about 500 queens, we are told. But not everybody is important. A few are important. For example, he married Koshala Devi. Understand this? He married Koshala Devi, the princess of Koshala. She was the princess of Koshala. And her brother was King Prasenjit. King Prasenjit, the king of Koshala. So when Bimbisar married Koshala Devi, he got Kashi as dowry. So Kashi became part of Magadha. Kashi became part of Magadha because Kashi was given away as dowry by King Prasenjit when Bimbisar married his sister Koshala Devi. Right. Then he also married Chellana of Madra. She was from a present-day Punjab area, Madra. So he also had you can see here, second wife, Chellana. She was of Lichavi, she was a Lichavi princess, and third wife was daughter of Madara clan. Don't worry about it. So Chelana was an Ichavi princess. Now the most important is this, Koshala Devi. Now we'll talk about it. So Bimbisar had many queens, and the most important was Koshala Devi, the princess of Koshala. Now, the most serious rival of Bimbisar was Avanti. What was the capital of Avanti? Ujjain. Ujjain was the capital of Avanti. And who was the king of Avanti, you might ask? Chanda Pradyota Mahasena. Chanda Pradyota Mahasena. He was the king of Avanti. So Bimbisara and Chanda Pradyota Mahasena were enemies, but later they became friends. Now, how did they become friends? Let us understand that. I believe Bimbisara came to know through his spies that his enemy, Chanda Pradyota Mahasena, was suffering from jaundice. He was suffering from jaundice. So he was suffering from jaundice. So he forgot about his enmity with Chanda Pradyota Mahasena, and he sent one of his doctors, Jivaka, to the court of Ujjain. So Jivaka was a physician of Bimbisar. So he sent Jivaka to Ujjain to treat Chanda Pradyota Mahasena, and with his permission, which was granted, Jivaka, the physician of Bimbisar, treated Chanda Pradyota Mahasena, who was cured of jaundice. So he was cured of his jaundice. This led to good and friendly relations between Magadha and Avanti. So he uses medical diplomacy. So Bimbisar, through medical diplomacy, improved his or mended his enmity with Avanti. So through wars and diplomacy, and also matrimonial alliances, he expanded Magadha. He strengthened Magadha. Bimbisar is called Senia, maker of the army. Senia means maker of the army. Maker of the army. Bimbisar was a contemporary of the Buddha. He was a contemporary of the Lord Buddha. And Bimbisar was killed by his own son Ajatashatru. So Ajatashatru killed his father. Why did he kill his father? For the throne. He killed his father for the throne. So Ajatashatru committed patricide. Patricide was committed by Ajatashatru. Right? And Bimbisar also conquered Anga. So Anga was a kingdom conquered by Bimbisar. So Kashi, he got Kashi as dowry, and he had conquered Anga, which he kept under his son Ajatashatru. But later Ajatashatru wanted to become the king. He killed his father and became the king, thus committing patricide. Now, are you clear till here? Are you clear? So it is a factual story. It's a factual information henceforth to a large extent. So we'll come back here, understand this. Now, who was Ajatashatru? Look here on your screen. Who was Ajatashatru? Ajatashatru was a son born to Bimbisara and Koshala Devi. The son born to Bimbisara and Koshala Devi was Ajatashatru, but we have seen that Ajatashatru killed his father Bimbisar. So Mama is who? This King Prasenjit became very angry because his sister had become a widow because of her own son, his nephew. So what King Prasenjit did is he took back Kashi from Magadha. He snatched back Kashi from Magadha. He had given Kashi to Bimbisar when he married his sister, Koshala Devi. Now, after the death of Bimbisar, which was because of the murder of Bimbisar by Ajatashatru, King Prasenjit took back Kashi from Magadha. This angered Ajatashatru. He became very angry with his uncle. So he declared war against Koshala. The king of Koshala was Prasenjit. So you have Ajatashatru declaring war against his uncle. Are you there with me? Clear till here? Simple. So Ajatashatru declared war against his uncle Prasenjit. Koshala. So Magadha versus Koshala. So Koshala and Kashi came together. Magadha was a very formidable kingdom, very strong kingdom. So Magadha versus Koshala. So here, I believe this particular war lasted for 16 years. This war between Magadha and Koshala and Kashi lasted for how many years? 16 years. And at the end of these 16 years, it was Ajatashatru who won this war by defeating his uncle. How did he defeat his uncle, you might ask? His uncle had a minister called Dirghacharayan. His uncle had a minister called Dirghacharayan. Ajatashatru bribed this minister. And this Dirghacharayan, after receiving the bribe, leaked out vital information to Ajatashatru. And with that information, Ajatashatru was able to defeat his uncle Prasenjit. And he married his uncle's daughter and took back Kashi from his uncle. Right, interesting. So, and then one more thing is, he used two new war weapons in this particular war. Mahashilakantaka. Mahashilakantaka. And Rathamushala. What is Maha? Large. Maha. Shila is what? Stone. Kantaka is catapult. On your screen, you can see here. You see on your screen Mahashila Kantaka. I'm sure most of you must have watched that Bahubali movie. Bahubali. You know, who's that hero? Tall fellow, hero, Telugu hero. Forget his name. Prabhas, yeah. So you saw that movie there, they throw huge boulders at the enemy. That is Mahashila Kantaka. You can see the picture on your screen there. Right? And then Rathamushala. Prabhas, yeah, thank you. Mahashila Kantaka. Then Rathamushala. What is this Rathamushala? Have you seen the movie Gladiator or Ben-Hur? Ben-Hur is a better movie. Ben-Hur is a very old movie, black and white movie. Ben-Hur. You see, you have the chariot. You just imagine this. You have the chariot wheel, okay, and you fix. Every wheel has a hubcap. Nowadays, you have, old cars used to have hubcap. You put a hubcap to that, cover the hub. Like that, you have hubcap. Nowadays, you have, of course, different types of covers. So you attach a mixie blade sort of a thing, a mixie blade, like that, to the chariot wheel, hub of the chariot wheel. You can see here there. When the chariot is running, that particular mixie blade sort of a thing is also turning. So you take that, and it is protruding out of the chariot wheel. You take the chariot wheel, which is running, your chariot wheel, next to your enemy's chariot wheel. So this particular mixie blade sort of a thing will destroy the spokes of the wooden spokes of the neighboring chariot, and that way that chariot will capsize. So that is called Rathamushala. So did you understand Rathamushala? So he uses two new war weapons, I believe, Mahashila Kantaka and Rathamushala, in these wars against his uncle Prasenjit, and he reconquered Kashi. Ajatashatru also conquered Vaishali from the Lichavis of Vaishali. So Lichavis, one of the 8 clans of the Mallas, the Lichavis. So he defeated the Lichavis and conquered Vaishali. And he added Vaishali to Magadha. So if you go back, you see here. So here, Bimbisara had conquered Anga. Ajatashatru now reconquered Anga. So he reconquered Anga. Sorry, he reconquered Kashi. And then he conquered Vaishali. So Kashi and Vaishali became part of Magadha, right? Hemalata, don't take that Bahubali story very seriously. Grinder is fixed in front of the car. It is the imagination of the director. So there's a fan in the middle, in the front, turning like that. If I was there, I would have just ducked and sat down for the chariot to pass by, and the fan would have missed my neck. Anyway, jokes apart, we'll come back here. Right? So Kashi and Vaishali became part of Magadha under Ajatashatru. Right? And then we have another king, Udayan. So Udayan killed Ajatashatru. Very interesting. The wheel of time had come full circle. Ajatashatru had killed his father for the throne. Then his own son killed his father. Udayan killed Ajatashatru and snatched the throne. Right? So Udayan was the next to become king. Udayan. So Udayan killed Ajatashatru, killed his father, Ajatashatru, and became the next king. And Udayan is the person who founded Pataliputra. This was a UPSC prelims question. Who founded Pataliputra? It was Udayan. He founded Pataliputra and made it his capital. Now, please understand, I forgot to mention this. Bimbisara's capital was Rajagriha. Rajagriha was the capital of Bimbisar and Ajatashatru or Girivraja. Now, the capital of Magadha became Pataliputra. It was founded by Udayan, the son of Ajatashatru. So Udayan killed his father, Ajatashatru, and founded Pataliputra. It was at the confluence of the Ganga, Gandak, Ghagra, and the Sone. So it was a virtual Jaladurga. Jaladurga, Jala is water, Durga is a fort. It was a virtual water fort surrounded by water on all directions. Okay. So Udayan killed Ajatashatru and founded Pataliputra. And three more kings are supposed to have committed patricide. After Udayan, three more kings committed patricide. They would kill their father and snatch the throne. Their sons will kill his father, and then they became the king. So people of Pataliputra became fed up. People of Magadha became fed up. So they decided to appoint or elect a king called minister called Shishunaga as their king. So when these princes were killing their fathers, we have a minister called Shishunaga who was running the administration. So I told you three people committed patricide after Udayan. And the minister called Shishunaga was running the administration when the princes were killing their fathers and becoming kings. As a result, people of Magadha elected Shishunaga as their king. And thus we have the end of the Haryanka dynasty and the coming of the Shishunaga dynasty to power. So Ajatashatru was the son born to Koshala Devi and Bimbisar, Mitali, right? So we'll come back here. So Shishunagas come to power. So you can see here on your screen Bimbisar. He was the founder of the Haryanka dynasty, contemporary of Lord Buddha, titled Senia, captured Anga. Then he strengthened his marriage position by marriage alliances. He married the princesses of Koshala, Vaishali, Madra. First wife Koshala Devi, the sister of King Prasenjit of Koshala. Then he fought, earlier he fought against Chanda Pradyota Mahasena. Later he sent his physician Jivaka to the court of Avanti, where his physician Jivaka treated Chanda Pradyota Mahasena and they became friends. Later he was killed by Girivraja Rajagriha was his capital. Later he was killed by his own son Ajatashatru, who committed patricide. And uncle Prasenjit of Koshala took back Kashi. So Ajatashatru waged war against his uncle Prasenjit, annexed Kashi, married his uncle's daughter. Title of Ajatashatru is Kunika. So he fought against an alliance of Koshala and Kashi for 16 years. Ultimately, he bribed Prasenjit's minister Dirghacharayan, and he won the war against his uncle. He also defeated the Lichavis of Vaishali. He used two new war weapons. We have seen this, Mahashila Kantaka and Rathamushala. So you see, many of these movies have drawn inspiration from history. They get ideas from history, and then they distort their stories for their own entertainment, for the purpose of making money and entertainment. And then many of the people feel it is real, but it's not so. So then we come to Ajatashatru. He added Kashi and Vaishali to Magadha, and he was killed by his own son Udayan. And Udayan is the one who founded Pataliputra, right? And three more kings committed patricide. Ultimately, people elected Shishunaga as their king, and he founded the Shishunaga dynasty after ending the Haryanka dynasty. So the next dynasty which ruled Magadha after the Haryanka dynasty was the Shishunaga dynasty. Shishanaga dynasty. We are told that 12 kings ruled for 70 years. 12 kings ruled for totally 70 years. The founder was, of course, Shishanaga, who shifted the capital to Vaishali. So remember this. Udayan had made Patliputra his capital. It was shifted to Vaishali by Shishanaga, and he conquered Avanti. So Avanti was added by Shishanaga to Magadha, and he shifted the capital to Vaishali. But his successor, Kal Ashoka or Kakavarnin, reshifted the capital back to Pataliputra. So remember this. You see, I'll write here again. Bimbisar, under Bimbisar and Ajatashatru, the capital was what? Rajagriha. Then Udayan made Patliputra the capital. So Patliputra became the capital. Shishunaga shifted the capital to Vaishali. So from Patliputra, Vaishali became the capital. And Shishunaga's successor, Kal Ashoka shifted the capital back to Pataliputra. So remember this type of factual information you please remember. Then Kal Ashoka is a person who hosted the second Buddhist council. He hosted the second Buddhist council at Vaishali. So we have a Buddhist council which totally 4 councils take place. When I do art and culture, we will talk about it. The second Buddhist council was held at Vaishali. So the host was Kal Ashoka or Kakavarnin. So his own commander, Mahapadmananda, killed this Kal Ashoka and established the Nanda dynasty. So the Shishunagas were succeeded by the Nandas. So the next dynasty is the Nandas. So the founder was Mahapadmananda, who killed Kal Ashoka and founded the Nanda dynasty. He is called the first historical emperor of India, Mahapadmananda, called the first historical emperor of India. He has been called by different titles: Sarvakshatrantaka, Mahapadmapati, second Parushurama, etc. So the first historical emperor of India is this man called Mahapadmananda. He's called by different titles, as I have told you just now. Mahapadmapati was one of his titles. What is this Mahapadmapati? I believe he used to organize his army in a lotus formation. You have the lotus petals, okay? Lotus petals. So like that, he used to organize his army in a lotus formation, and hence called Mahapadmapati. Sarvakshatrantaka, second Parushurama, etc. And he might have conquered Koshala. So Anga, the Bimbisara added Anga to Magadha. Then we have Ajatashatru adding Kashi and Vaishali to Magadha. Then Udayin made Patliputra the capital. And of course, we have the Shishunagas adding Avanti to Magadha. And then we have Nandas adding Koshala and Kalinga to Magadha. So Magadha kept on expanding under various rulers, under various dynasties. So you have Mahapadmananda. He might have conquered Koshala, and the Nandas added Kalinga to Magadha. So Kalinga or Orissa also became part of Magadha. The last Nanda king was Dhanananda. Dhanananda, he's called Agrams. Greek sources call him as Agrams, and during his period, we have Alexander coming into India. Alexander the Great, he came into India, he came up to the river Bias, and there was a rebellion on the banks of the river Bias. So his army was thinking of, he was thinking of attacking the Nandas, but there was a rebellion and he went back. So Alexander and the Greeks were aware of the strength of the Nanda army across the river Bias. So Dhanananda was killed by Chandragupta Maurya along with Kautilya, his minister, and Chandragupta Maurya established the Mauryan dynasty. Okay, so here you can see here the rapid expansion of Magadha. I have put a chart for you, easy to remember that way on your screen. Bimbisar conquered Anga, right? Ajatashatru reconquered Kashi and then conquered Vaishali. Shishunaga added Avanti to Magadha, and Nandas added Koshala and Kalinga to Magadha. So rapid expansion of Magadha under these kings, under various dynasties. Are you clear? He's called, that is the title Nikhil, second Parushurama, because of his prowess. Nothing to do with his Varna here. So don't read too much into those things. It was just a title given to him because of his valor. Okay, Nikhil. So we'll come back here. Causes for the expansion of Magadha have explained to you. So let us go through the PPTs for as a revision. Rich iron deposits of Magadha. So apart from Avanti, the only other kingdom which had iron ore resources, it was Magadha. And Avanti had some iron ore resources. Nobody else, no other kingdom had iron ore resources. And the kings of Magadha tapped those iron ore resources, and they used to make iron tools and implements, agricultural tools and implements, and also you have war weapons, which was used for defense purpose. So rich iron deposits for defense and agriculture. Strategic location of its capitals, Rajagriha or Girivraja, surrounded by hills. There were 5 hills surrounding Rajagriha, hills on all directions. So it was very difficult for an enemy to conquer Magadha and its capital Rajagir. Later the capital was shifted to Patliputra, surrounded by water on all directions. So it was situated at the confluence of the Ganga, Gandak, Sone and the Ghagra. Virtual Jaladurga. Then third is Magadha was in the middle Ganga basin, middle Ganga Gangetic plain, heavy rainfall area, rich alluvium soil. So they could reap a bountiful harvest, 2 to 3 crops in a year. And after every harvest, the Magadhan king would collect taxes. Trade routes to the northeast passed through Magadha, right? So I told you the Magadhan kings would collect taxes from these merchants, and that added to the strength of Magadha. Use of elephants. So those elephants were trained, a lot of forests around Magadha. So those elephants in the forest were captured, trained, inducted into the Magadhan army, given edge to the Magadhan army in wars. An unorthodox character of Magadhan society, we have a number of forest tribes like the Kiratas, the Magadhas, who came to be Aryanized, that is, they adopted Vedic religion, and they were very enthusiastic to show their loyalty to Magadha. So they also, in various civil and military capacities, strengthened Magadha. Okay, so all these reasons can be cited for the strength of Magadha, for the rise of Magadha. Are you there with me? Clear? Easy, na? This chapter is easy, small chapter. Do you agree with me? Can you raise your hands? Are you clear till here? Whatever I have done, factual information. We can go further. Persian and Greek invasion of India. Unorthodox, I told you, they were not following the Vedic religion. They were all tribals. So they were unorthodox in that sense. But then once they came under the influence of Vedic religion, they became part of civilization. They were very enthusiastic to show their loyalty to Magadha. Right? Hemlata. Clear? So let us come to the highlights of this period. On your screen, highlights of the 6th century BC. I've again discussed this, highlights of the 6th century BC. First of all, we have few books, Buddhist textbooks and Panini's Ashtadhyayi. Panini was an ancient Indian grammarian. He writes a grammar book called Ashtadhyayi. So this is a grammar book written in Sanskrit language. Grammar book written in Sanskrit language. And in that book, we get a lot of information about the 6th century BC. First of all, it is called the age of second urbanization in India, right? We have the capitals of the Mahajanapadas becoming the principal cities of this period. Secondly, towns and cities came to be founded far away from river valleys because of the development of ring wells. You can see on your screen, these are the ring wells. You see on your screen, you have a picture. Those wells have got covered in mud and stone. So these are the ring wells. They have arranged rings, terracotta rings from the base. So when excavations were done, such ring wells were found, one next to each other. You see that? So that led to the birth of cities far away from river valleys. Once water source was tapped, they were able to dig a well or wells, and then you have people settling down, and a city came into existence in due course. So the capitals of the Mahajanapadas became the principal cities of this period, like, for example, Hastinapur, Ahichatra, Kaushambi, Shravasti, Rajagriha, Pataliputra, Ayodhya, etc. Next, we have the use of metal money. Earliest coinage in India, punch-marked coins. You can see the picture on your screen. These are the various symbols embossed, punched on those coins. These are made of copper and silver. So mostly silver and also copper, sometimes copper. So silver and copper punch mark coins. They were punched with images of peacock, hill, crescent, etc. Half moon, peacock, hill, crescent, etc. These are the earliest surviving coinage of India. So earlier in the Vedic period, they used to use gold ornaments as a medium of exchange, apart from the cow. Now you have the use of metalled money, coined money, which were used for making for as a medium of exchange. Then I told you probably nucleated village settlements with houses on one side and farms on the other, started from the 6th century BC. So you have a village, one side you have houses, one part of the village, and the other side you have farms. So such villages came to be called nucleated village settlements. Then paddy transplantation or ropana also started during this period. So paddy transplantation is called ropana. As somebody put it, it is done in a nursery, and then when the saplings start sprouting, when the paddy saplings are sprouting, when the main field would have got ready by then, and it is transplanted. You can see here, women are transplanting the paddy into the main field. Even now, it is done by women in almost all parts of India. It is the women who do it because women. Uh, she is equal to goddess Annapurneshwari. Annapurna is the god who gives food. So that's why it is done. Women are the ones who transplant it. Men help the women to transplant the paddy. So here, transplantation of paddy. Then we have the distinctive pottery of this period, northern black polished ware. New class of peasants arose called Gahapatis. For example, these are all rich farmers who gave money, who lent money to poor farmers. And the distinctive pottery of this period is called Northern Black Polished Ware, NBPW. Right? This is the highlights of the 6th century BC. Then we'll move on. You see, in huge kingdoms, it was difficult to have frequent meetings because of the size of the kingdoms. So here we have a parisha, a small body of brahmanas who advise the king in a monarchy. Then we have tribal republics arising in the Indus Basin and in the foothills of the Himalayas. So we have a Gana Parishad or a Santhagara, which was a parliament in these republican states. So you have a republic where the king was elected. You have a parliament or a Gana Parishad. It is also called Santhagara. Santhagara was a parliament in a republic, which helped the king in running the administration. You could have a republic with only one tribe, or you could have a republic with many tribes. For example, we have a republic with a single tribe, like the Sakyas. The dominant tribe was the Sakya tribe. Therefore, they were called Sakyas. Kollis, the Kollis were the dominant tribe. Mallas were the dominant tribe in the Malla Republic. Or you could have a confederacy of tribes when many tribes came together. For example, the Vrijis. So it was a combination of number of tribes. Right? These are the two types of republics which existed. Here, the king was elected and he was assisted by a parliament, a Gana Parishad or a Santhagara. Are you clear till here, all of you? Are you clear till here? Can I move on? Can you raise your hands so that I can move on? Any doubts? Factual information, so therefore nothing much to think of. You just have to remember, revise a few times, and then you'll remember. So we'll come back here. So Persian and Greek invasion of India. Persian and Greek invasion of India. So let us talk about this topic as part of this chapter. Please go slow. Okay, Pooja, I will. So Persian invasion of India. Understand this? Persian invasion of India, 516 BC. Persia is the old name of what? Persia means Iran. Very good, Jia. Iran. Now look here on your screen. There was an attack on India in the year 516 BC by a Persian king. He belonged to the Achaemenid dynasty. So what was the dynasty which was ruling Persia during those days? Achaemenid. Achaemenid. This is the Achaemenid dynasty which ruled Persia. What was the capital of the Achaemenid dynasty? Capital was Persepolis. Their capital was Persepolis. Persepolis. That was their capital. Persepolis. Now we have a king called Darius the First. Darius the First in 516 BC attacked and conquered the present regions of Punjab, Sindh, Northwest Frontier Province. And this conquered area became the 20th province or satrapi. It became the 20th province or satrapi of this Darius the First of Iran or Persia. So he had a huge empire, and this conquered area became the 20th province of his. And this, and whatever revenue was collected from this 20th province amounted to 1/3 of the revenues from his Asiatic provinces. 1/3 of revenues from this 20th province. So whatever revenue he collected from this 20th province amounted to 1/3 of the revenues from his Asiatic provinces. From all his other Asiatic provinces. So it was a very prosperous area, Punjab, Sindh, Northwest Frontier Province, and the Persians ruled over this area for more than 200 plus years. The Persians ruled over this area for more than how many years? 200 plus years. Now, what we need to know is whether this conquest of a part of India had any impact on our history and culture. If so, what? Was there any impact on our history and culture? If so, what? This is what we need to know. So let us talk about the impact of the Persian invasion on India. Number one, you see here on your screen, the Persians used to install pillars like this. So you see, this is a pillar. This is the base of a pillar. These are grooves, holes in between. And then you have like this, right? So these are the pillar. This is a pillar. And on top of these pillars, this is called a capital. And on top of these capitals, they used to depict composite animals. They used to depict humans. They used to show humans or animals or composite creatures. Composite creatures on top of these pillars. And mind you, these pillars were made of stone. These are stone pillars. Okay? And they were polished. They shine like mirrors. What is the meaning of composite creatures? So either a human being is shown on top of the capital, on top of the pillar, or an animal is depicted, or a composite creature. For example, a horse with wings. So a galloping horse is shown, but that horse is shown with wings as if it's a flying horse. Or you have a lion in a crouching position. A lion is shown in a crouching position. That lion statue has the face of a man, but the body of a lion. The face of a man, but the body of a lion. Such animals are called, or such creatures are called composite creatures. Okay. Are you there with me? Now, are you there with me, all of you? So this is what the Persians used to show. These pillars either were supporting the pillar of a palace in Persepolis. Persepolis was the capital of the Achaemenid rulers of Persia. So such pillars were either supporting the roof or the ceiling of a palace, or they were installed on top of their palace. Are you there with me? Either they were supporting the roof of a palace or a ceiling of a palace, or they were installed on top of their palaces. The Mauryas borrowed this idea of using stone from the Persians. The Mauryas borrowed the idea of using stone from the Persians. So that is particularly from the time of Ashoka, the Mauryas began to use stone. So if I draw a Mauryan pillar, it will look something like this. But don't take my don't take my drawing very seriously. I'll show you the real pillar in some time, Ashokan pillar. So you have the Ashokan pillar like this. It is tapering towards the end. You see, it's tapering towards. This is the base of the Ashokan pillar. This is the base. This is called column or shaft. This is called column. This is called a column. Column. Or a shaft. It is about 30 to 40 feet in height and 30 to 40 tons in weight. Right? Now, then here we have what is known as an inverted lotus or a Persepolton bell. You see here on your screen. This is called a Persepolton bell or an inverted lotus. I'll show you the real picture of an Ashokan pillar in some time. You take a lotus flower. So I'm sure all of you have seen a lotus flower. You put it ulta. Okay. So how will that lotus flower look like? No, inverted. This is called an inverted lotus. An inverted lotus, also called a Persepolton bell. If you remember, Persepolis was the capital of the Persians, and this was the design of the Persians. Persepolton bell, right? So then we have the abacus. You can see this is the abacus. That is you have the Dharma Chakra of Ashoka, 24 spokes. And this pillar is round. You see, imagine this is the pillar. This is the pillar which is round. So if this is round, you have 4 chakras on the 4 corners of the abacus. So Dharma Chakra 1, 2, 3, 4. In the 4 corners, you have 4 chakras. And we have elephant, lion, horse, and a bull depicted between the 2 chakras. There are totally 4 chakras. And between the 4 chakras, you have elephant, lion, 1 horse, 1 elephant, 1 bull, and 1 lion shown. And on top of the Dharma Chakra of Ashoka, we have either 1 lion or 4 lions, as at Sanchi and Sarnath. Either you have 1 lion or 4 lions, or you have 1 elephant or 1 horse or 1 bull. And together, this is called capital. Now, whatever Ashoka wanted to convey, he got it written here. He got it written on the top of these pillars. And they also were polished with shine like mirrors. Now, what I'm trying to convey to you is the idea of using stone in architecture was borrowed by the Mauryans from the Persians. So you look at the map here, look at the picture of Ashoka's pillar. You can see here on your screen. On your screen, you see here, this is the shaft or the column. This is the shaft or the column. This is the inverted lotus, bell-shaped lotus. It looks like a lotus flower, inverted lotus, also called bell-shaped lotus, inverted lotus or Persepolton bell. This is the abacus. So 4 animals depicted all around those 4 chakras: elephant, lion, horse, bull. And then here we have 4 back-to-back lions. So we have such lions only at 2 places, Sanchi and Sarnath, 4 back-to-back lions. Together, this is called capital. Together, this is called capital. So there's another picture I have put here on your screen. If you see the shaft or the column, this is the Persepolton bell. This is the abacus here. Then we have sculpture of lions or lion. And then together, this is called capital. And the original pillar had a wheel on top. You can see here in this screen, in the left of your screen. Original pillar of Ashoka had a metal wheel that has fallen off. This is the Ashokan pillar, and they have shown 4 animals here. They have borrowed this idea from the Persians. Are you there with me? Please raise your hands. Are you clear? So the idea of using stone was borrowed by the Persians, by the Mauryas from the Persians. So, so what is the other impact we have? You see, this is number one. This is number one. First impact. Second impact is, you see, the Persians used to keep women bodyguards called Yavanis. Women are supposed to be vicious fighters. Physically, they may not be naturally bestowed with a lot of strength like males are. No, unless they're the women are also like Mary Kom. But then you see, generally less body weight and therefore less strength when compared to a male. But then they are very, very vicious fighters. Women are supposed to be. So the Persian kings used to keep women bodyguards called Yamanis. The Mauryas borrowed this idea of keeping bodyguards from the Persians. So Mauryan kings also had women bodyguards. So that was another thing, right? Then we have number three, the Kharoshti script. Kharoshti script was introduced in this area, wherever that is the 20th province, the Punjab, Sindh, Northwest Frontier province, that area, the Persians introduced Kharoshti script. And Urdu, it is written from right to left. Kharoshti is written from right to left. Okay. And Urdu is supposed to have been derived from Kharoshti. So this is another thing. Yamanis, Puja, the Persian kings used to keep women bodyguards called Yamanis. And the Mauryas borrowed that idea of keeping women bodyguards from the Persians. So Mauryan kings also used to keep women bodyguards. And Kharoshti script was introduced in the northwest frontier province of India, in the northwest portions of India, whichever area the Persians conquered. And of course, you have other impact. We have traders from India, traders and merchants crossing the borders, each other's borders, and also the concept of ahimsa influenced the Persians. So these are peripheral impacts. And of course, number of Indians came to work in the Persian armies. Many of the Indians began to serve in the Persian army. So this is the impact of the Persian conquest of India. Are you there with me? Why they would have had male bodyguards also, Kumar. I did not say only women bodyguards, but they also had women bodyguards. They borrowed the idea of having women bodyguards from the Persians, the Mauryas. So this is the Persian conquest of India. You can see here on your screen. What was the dynasty which ruled Persia? Achaemenid dynasty. Achaemenid dynasty. So Achaemenid emperors of Persia conquered northwest India. Darius the First. He was the person who conquered Punjab, northwest frontier province, and Sindh in 516 BC. That became his 20th satrapi or province. So this is Darius the First, the great of Persia, the king of Persia. So what is the impact? So the Persians ruled over this area up to 330 BC for more than 200 years. So Indian subjects were enrolled in the Persian army. Persian coins were used in Indian area under the control of the Persians. Kharoshti script was introduced by them and Urdu derived from there. Persians influenced Indian architecture. Ashokan pillars with bell-shaped lotus, Persepotent bell, and bull or lion capital are of pure Persian origin. Use of winged animals as capitals were borrowed from the Persians by the Mauryas. Lustrous polish was given to these pillars which shine like mirrors. Yavanis, Persian women, were employed as bodyguards, right, by the Indian rulers. So they also began to keep bodyguards. So all these things is the impact of Persian conquest of India, right? So let us talk about Alexander's invasion of India, 326 BC. So what do you know about this particular man, Alexander the Great? Why is he called great? And what do you know about Alexander? Hello? What do you know about Alexander? Conquered the whole world. His war techniques, says Hemalata. Jia says conquered the whole world. King of Macedonia, Nikhil, you're right. Then what else? Next, all area of the world, Shilpa. Okay, we'll talk about it. He never lost a battle. Okay, Kumar, you are right. He never lost. He never lost a battle. Then, student of Aristotle, introduced horses in wars in India. Nikhil, where did you get that information? Introduced horses in wars in India. Um, I don't think so. Horses were there even earlier. Then what else? Okay, you know quite a lot. So let us talk about Alexander. Alexander the Great. So you can see here, this is Macedonia. So you have during those days, Greece, ancient Greece was divided into a number of small city states like Macedonia, Sparta, Athens, etc. So Alexander was the king of Macedonia. His father was Philip II. So his father was Philip II. You can see on your screen. His father was King Philip II, the king of Macedonia. So he was the king of Macedonia, Philip II. Philip II. And during those days, the Achaemenid rulers of Persia were very, very strong. The Achaemenid dynasty, which ruled Persia, they were very, very strong. And the Persian emperors had conquered a number of Greek lands. They had conquered a number of areas from the Greeks, the Persian emperors of Iran. Now, King Philip II, the father of Alexander, had one ambition. He was the king of Macedonia. You can see Macedon here. So he was the king of Macedon. So his ambition was to reconquer all those areas which the Greeks had lost to the Persians. And therefore, to do that, he had organized an army which was equipped with a very unique weapon called the sarissa. So sarissa, what is a sarissa? It was a long spear, almost between 12 to 16 feet in length. So it was a long spear held by very strong men, well-built men. So they also had a shield and a short sword hanging on their hip area, and they used to hold this spear 12 to 16 feet in length, heavy spears called the sarissa. And he had organized his army into phalanxes. So phalanxes, like for example, one phalanx will have 3,600 men. 3,600 men in one phalanx. So each of these men are having one sarissa each, okay, along with a short sword and a shield. And this was a very, very strong army. So nobody could stand before these phalanx because their movement was slow. Understand this? Their movement was slow, but whatever comes in front of them, they will wipe it. They'll easily defeat it. They will, they'll poke it with their sarissas and finish them off. So the movement was slow, but it was sure. Now he had organized his army into phalanxes, and Philip II had many wives, and from them many sons. His favorite was Alexander. Now we are told that when Alexander was about 10 years old, one of the nobles brought a horse to him, brought a horse as a gift to his father. This horse was a black stallion which had a natural star on its forehead. So very beautiful looking horse, young horse, very tall, well built, and dancing, prancing, and it had a natural star on its forehead. And when they saw this horse, and it was called Bucephalus, you can see on your screen Bucephalus, which meant ox head. It had a very unusually large head, I believe, like that of an ox, and a natural star on its forehead. Therefore called ox head or Bucephalus. It was called Bucephalus. And the nobles saw this, nobles of King Philip II saw this. They were fascinated with this animal, with this beast. They wanted to ride him. And they asked the king's permission, can we ride this horse? And he said, go ahead, go and try. But then the horse would not allow anybody to mount him. He would throw off the rider. Even before that person sat properly, he would have thrown him off. So young Alexander, who was about 10 years old, was watching this horse, watching what was happening. And then he observed something which nobody had observed. So he asked his father, can I ride that horse? So his father had said that you go and try riding this horse, no problem. He was a prince, so he had been trained to ride a horse. So he knew, he had ridden many horses. What Alexander had noticed was, I believe that horse was afraid of its own shadow. So when the sun was falling down and you have the horse seeing its own shadow, it would get scared. And therefore, when somebody tried to mount him at that point in time, he would throw off the rider because already the horse is scared and disturbed. So Alexander had noticed that. So what he did is he walked slowly towards the horse, and then he gently, touched the horse, patted the horse, spoke to the horse. God knows what he spoke, but he spoke to the horse, young boy of 10 years old, and slowly he turned the horse away from the sun so that the horse cannot see its shadow. And then he mounted. So he had built a certain amount of confidence with the horse. Okay, and it's a very sensitive animal like a dog. So he and an elephant. So he mounted the horse, and the horse did not protest. And then he went for a ride and came back to the amazement of everybody. So his father is supposed to have remarked, "This kingdom is too small for you. Go and carve your own kingdom." So that's what his father is supposed to have told him. He praised his son, and he encouraged him this way, by these kind words of his. So at around 17 years, when Alexander was about 17 years old, his father Philip II was assassinated in a coup, in a military coup. He was assassinated, and all the sons of Philip II began to fight for the throne of Macedonia. Alexander also participated in this civil war. He managed to kill all his brothers, and he became the king of Macedonia. His teacher, as many of you have pointed out, was Aristotle. His teacher was Aristotle, and Alexander had an ambition. He wanted to conquer the entire world. But then please understand, nobody knew during those days how big the earth was. His teacher, I believe, Aristotle, had told him that the earth ends after India. So Alexander wanted to conquer everything up to India, thus conquering the entire earth. So, and moreover, he wanted to fulfill the ambition of his father, that is to reconquer all those areas which the Greeks had lost to the Persians. So he took his army, what his father had already established, and he began to conquer one area after another area. He had very fine men. It was a thorough, war hardened soldiers. His father's army had war hardened soldiers and also officers, very well trained, experienced generals. So he bequeathed all that from his father, and and he was a great general, always led from the battlefield, always led from the front in the battlefield. And he had a military brain. He was a genius as a general. He was a genius on the battlefield. So he began to conquer one area after another area, and then he challenged the mighty emperor of Persia, Darius the Third, the descendant of Darius the First. Darius the First was the one who conquered northwest portions of India. His descendant was Darius the Third, and the Persian emperor. So he was not a king but an emperor. He ruled over the whole of Persia, the emperor of Persia, and he was called the Lord of the Universe. He was called the Lord of the Universe. That is, he had such a huge empire. So Alexander, who was just the king of Macedonia, a small city-state, challenged the mighty Persian emperor Darius III for battle. And it is said that Darius III laughed it off. He said, "It's a small boy, he's just challenging me." And he took it as a joke. But in the Battle of Issus, you have the famous Battle of Issus. In this Battle of Issus, Alexander was the one who defeated Darius III. And this came as a shock to Darius III, and he did not want to take chances with Alexander. So he organized an army 5 times the size of Alexander's army. And then we have the famous Battle of Arabella or Gaugamela, which happened in 330 BC or so. 330 BC, the famous Battle of Gaugamela. So Alexander's strength, he relied on cavalry, whereas the Persian emperor relied, he had an army size 5 times that of Alexander. But then in this battle, it was Alexander who won this battle again. In the Battle of Gaugamela or Arbela, though his strength was 5 times less than that of the Persian emperor's strength. And that's why he's called a genius, because he could take on armies and defeat those armies many times the size of his own army. So you can see here on your screen, I've just put a battle plan of Gaugamela. See, if you want to know about Alexander, just when you're taking a break, you want to watch something interesting, then you can go on YouTube and type in the footsteps of Alexander, in the footsteps of Alexander. So there's a person called Wood, the BBC team, the British Broadcasting Corporation team, have retraced the journey of Alexander from Macedonia in Greece up to the borders of India and back. What all wars he fought, what all happened, all those details are there in many episodes. So go through that. It's a beautiful program if you are interested in Alexander. In the Footsteps of Alexander by the BBC team under some Wood, Mark Wood or somebody. So interesting. So here what happens is we have the famous Battle of Gaugamela, which was fought. Um, so here, imagine this is Alexander's army. So this is the size of Alexander's army. And Alexander always led from the front. He would never wait for the enemy to make the move. And this is, imagine, the army of Darius the Third. And he was always at the rear. Like the Pakistani commanders in the Kargil war, many of the soldiers, Pakistani soldiers told, who were captured by our soldiers and officers, they told, these officers of ours put us in the front and they were in the rear. They did not want to get killed. So many of the Pakistani soldiers told us that. So here, like that, you have the king Darius the Third in the rear here, and sitting on a throne, he would direct the operations from the rear. Right. So this is how the armies were positioned. So Alexander, here what happened is Alexander would not wait for the enemy to make the move. He would make the first move. So what he did is he changed the layout of his army like this. So from like this, whatever I just now showed you, it became something like this. Not important from the exam point of view. This is just to kindle your interest, right? I know you've been sitting from 12 o'clock. So these stories will help you to stay alert, right? So he made his army something like this, right? With very few people on the flanks, more people in the center, like this. So this fellow, Darius III, who saw this sudden change in the formation of Alexander's army, thought that Alexander probably wanted to escape, because that's why he has kept, he has widened his army's position. So he changed his army to something like this. Like this, right? With more people on the flanks, less people in the center. So he ordered his soldiers not to spare these Greeks. So he more people on the flanks and less in the center. So here, this is what Alexander probably had foreseen. You have Alexander straight going towards the army of Darius III. So with his chosen commanders, he was almost reckless, we are told, about his own safety. So he was always surrounded by Greek officers and soldiers who give him protection. And he charged with his army, with his Bucephalus horse. And when the Persian emperor saw this, you can see here the arrow mark. You can see the arrow mark here. When the Persian emperor saw the ferocity with which Alexander was riding towards him, and so much of confidence, he ran away with his chariot. He told his chariot driver to turn around and run away. So he ran away from the battlefield. And when when the Persian soldiers and officers saw their king running away, they began to run helter skelter. So Alexander came back. So he made a full circle. He came back to strengthen his forces because the Persians had penetrated some of their soldiers within the ranks of Alexander's army. So it was a great battle won by Alexander. So, and within a few hours, the battle was over. We are told that Darius III later was killed by his own men. After a few months, he was killed by his own men. And Alexander became the emperor of Persia or Iran. So what do the Greeks do? They enter Persia, they enter Iran, and they go to the palace of Persepolis, the capital of the Achaemenid rulers of Persia, Persepolis. There was a wooden palace there. So they went there, they engaged in plunder, loot, rapine, and for a few months, they committed all sorts of atrocities on the people of Iran. In the Holy Quran, this is what I have been told in that program, which in the Footsteps of Alexander. Alexander has been called as a devil with two horns in the Holy Quran. So he committed all sorts of atrocities on the people of Iran. He and his men, they drank, they womanized, etc. And ultimately, when they had it enough, one of the parties in the night, one of his soldiers, one of his officers took a torchlight, and he lit the curtains of the palace of Persepolis. And others joined with their own torches, and they burned down the palace of Persepolis. Alexander also joined them. So after having won over Persia, he marched towards India. And he enters India through the northwest frontier province, to the northwest portions of India, via Pakistan side. He enters India to the northwest frontier, through the Khyber Pass. Now, there we had two rulers on your screen. Ambhi, the ruler of Takshashila. Takshashila is a place in Pakistan now. And then King Purushottama. The Greek sources call him as Porus. So Alexander did not come alone. He came along with historians like Callisthenes and others. And these historians document all the wars and battles fought by Alexander and what all happened, the minute details they give. So from that, we come to know a lot about Alexander. So here there was a king called Raja Purushottama, uh, uh, Indian king who ruled between the Jhelum and the Chenab rivers. And we are told by Greek sources that he was about 3.5 cubit in size. That is about 6.8, in size. Not a huge, well built, and a very daring king who never cared for Ambi. So Ambi was an enemy of Raja Porus or Purushottama, and Purushottama was also not bothered about Ambi. So when Alexander came into India, this Ambi submitted before Alexander. He gave 3,000 sheep to feed the army of Alexander as a gift. And then he filled up the ears of Alexander against Porus. So Alexander got ready to fight against Porus, and the river Jhelum was in spate. The Greeks call it as Hydaspes, the Hydaspes or the Jhelum river. It was in floods. So Alexander could not cross the river Jhelum. It was the middle of the night, and he found a small gap. So the river had come down, the had come down, receded, and he found a small gap. And in that small gap, he crossed the river Jhelum with his army. In the night, there was a battle. This is known as the Battle of Hydaspes. Now, Alexander nor his men had seen elephants. They had fought many battles all the while up to the borders of India. For 8 years, they had been fighting, but they had never encountered elephants in the army of their adversaries. And here, Raja Purushottama had an elephant corps of 200. He had 200 elephants in his army, apart from infantry. So these 200 elephants, they were war elephants, trained elephants. They'll make them drink before the war. They're armored elephants, and they are in a rage. So, so what they start doing is they began to catch hold of these Greek soldiers and throw them, fling them. They began to, trample on the horses. And the horses had never seen elephants. They began to go out of control. Many of them threw their riders and ran away. So all these things was happening, and there was a lot of confusion in the ranks of the Greeks. So, and Alexander was sitting on his horse, Bucephalus, and he was seeing all these things. In this battle, in the Battle of Hydaspes, the elephant of Porus trampled Bucephalus to death. So the horse, which had brought him all the way to India, was trampled to death by the elephant of Porus. Alexander quickly mounted another horse and he continued the fight. And then, as his soldiers were running away, a part of his army was running away because they did not know how to handle these elephants. Alexander, was a great general. He quickly regrouped. Brought his men together, and then he told them that take your sarisas and go behind the elephants and poke them. So you stab them from the back, from the rear, and you shoot arrows at the eyes of the elephant. His soldiers began to follow his instructions. Went behind the elephant and they began to poke the elephants with their sarisas, and also began to aim their arrows at the eyes of the elephant. And the elephants lost their peace of mind, their brains. They began to trample their own soldiers. And all this while, Alexander, who was sitting on his other horse, was seeing Raja Purushottama fight, and he was killing a number of Greek soldiers and officers. And Alexander was impressed with the bravery of Purushottama, we are told. But then the Greeks won this battle. Raja Purushottama was outnumbered and he was defeated. And he was brought in chains before Alexander. Alexander was sitting on the throne of Raja Purushottama. And Alexander is supposed to have asked him only one question when Purushottama was brought before Alexander. How should I treat you? How do you think I should treat you? This is what Alexander is supposed to have asked him. And without battling an eyelid, Purushottama is supposed to have replied, like one king treats another king. That's what he replied. So Alexander got up from that throne. He was very happy with that answer. He came down, ordered his soldiers to remove those chains. He had those battle wounds. Blood was coming out from his body, but he embraced him. He embraced Raja Purushottama, ordered his soldiers to bandage him, and then they became friends. He gave back his kingdom, Alexander. to Porus. And then he marched on. Now they came up to the river Bias. They came up to the river Bias, and across the river Bias was the army of the Nandas. Who was the king? Dhanananda. Greek sources call him Agrams. So what was the strength of the army of the Nandas? 2 lakh infantry. They had an army size of 2 lakh infantry, 6,000 war elephants, 60,000 chariots. This was the size of the Nanda army. And we have a Jewish historian. His name is Joseph Ben Gurion. He says when when the Greeks heard about the strength of the Nanda army, it sent a chill through their spine, because here 200 elephants they were not able to handle. What about 6,000 war elephants? So anyway, there was a rebellion at this point in time in the army of Alexander. Why did they rebel? Because they were homesick. They had been continuously fighting for 8 years, and they wanted to go home, and they had rebelled earlier, but Alexander had given them incentives. And one of the incentives he gave them was every new area conquered. Don't get me wrong here. This is what Alexander did. Don't get me wrong here. So, whichever area was conquered by Alexander's army, he encouraged his soldiers and officers to establish relationship with the local women of that area. So, every new area conquered meant a new female for his soldiers and officers. So, wherever he went, he brought death, destruction, rapine. That is true. He was a great general, no doubt about it. But then this was one of the incentives he gave, because he couldn't have conquered the whole world in the sense he couldn't have followed his ambition without and fulfilled it to a large extent without the help of his officers and soldiers. But then his soldiers had it enough. They did not want anything else but to go back home. So the man who had never seen any defeat in his life had to accept defeat from his own soldiers. So we are told that Alexander divided his army into two parts. Okay, he divided his army into two parts. One part he kept under his commander Nearchus. So you can see here on your screen, this is the route taken by Alexander. On your screen, you can see he starts off from Macedonia and he conquered all these areas. He came up to the river Bias. He came up to the river Bias and he went back. Chelem is here, right? So he went back, and of course, he never went back to Macedonia. He died at Babylonia, which is in Iraq. He died at Babylonia in Iraq under controversial circumstances. When he died, he was just 33 years old, and he had established a huge empire spanning 20,000 kilometers. From Macedonia and Greece to up to the borders of India, a huge empire of 20,000 kilometers had been established by Alexander. Now, when there was a rebellion in his army, you can see on your screen, to the right of your screen, he divided the empire, his army into two parts. One part of his army he kept under his general Nearchus. So Nearchus was ordered by Alexander, you take the army, so take my army through the sea route and mark all those harbors. You can see here Indus River is here. So Nearchus was asked to take one part of his army, the half of his army, via the sea route. And while going back, mark all those harbors, all those potential harbors on the map, and then go back via Euphrates and then onwards to Greece. So you have Nearchus taking half of his army on ships, boats and ships. He sailed as close as possible to the coast. He marked all those harbors on the map, so that Alexander's plan was he later wants to come back. He wants to come back and continue his conquest. He can come back by the sea route, and then continue his conquest. So ultimately, we have Nearchus reaching Macedonia. With the other part of the army, Alexander fought his way through the republics of the Punjab, to the northwest. So what we now call northwest India, he passed out of India through the northwest portions, and he got caught in a desert, which is now in Pakistan. It is called the Jedrosian Desert. Jedrosia. So he got lost. He lost his way along with his army in the Jedrosian Desert. And for 60 days, they were in the desert. They did not know which direction to go out of the desert. They ran short of water. So what they did is they killed the horses, drank the blood of the horses, ate the horses' meat to survive. Man can become so cruel and a beast when he has nothing to eat or drink. So you have blood of the horses being drunk. They dug up shoots and tubers from the desert, and some of them store water under the soil. So they squeezed that and they drank whatever water and moisture they could collect early morning, and somehow they survived. And ultimately, Alexander went out of his way, out of the desert, but he never reached Macedonia. He died on the way. So this is the story of Alexander. He was just 33 years old when he died. So what is the impact of Alexander's invasion? Number one, you can see we have mutual contacts between Greek and Indian culture. Mutual contacts with Greek and Indian culture. Then we have four new routes which came into existence between the east and the west. Two via the sea and two via land. So two via the sea and two via land between the east and the west. That is number two. Number three is 326 BC is considered to be the sheet anchor of Indian history. It is considered to be a sheet anchor of Indian history because we know what was happening in India at that point in time. 326 BC, that is the year when Alexander came to India. And many of the Greek scholars and historians give us a lot of information about India at that point in time, what was happening in India. That's why it is called the sheet anchor of Indian chronology, right? Then we have Chandragupta Maurya was able to consolidate his newly established empire uh, relatively easily because of Alexander. So Alexander, when he went out of India, I told you he fought against the republics of the Punjab, and then he went out of went out of India. Just after Alexander went, we have Chandragupta Maurya overthrowing the Nandas. Dhanananda was killed, and Chandragupta Maurya established the Mauryan Empire, and he was trying to consolidate his newly established empire. And it was easy for him to reconquer the northwest portions of India because those had been weakened already by Alexander's invasion. Okay, so that is another aspect. And Chandragupta Maurya also strengthened his army on Greek lines. We have the oath the Greek doctors take at the time of finishing their medical course. Even now, MBBS graduates, some of you may be doctors on the other side of the camera. So here, they take an oath known as the Hippocratic Oath. Hippocrates is the father of medicine. So even now, even now MBBS graduates take this oath. So this was an impact of Greek medicine on Indian medicine. Even now, we take this oath called Hippocratic Oath, the medical graduates. So this is the impact of Alexander's invasion on India. Are you there with me? Clear? This is Alexander's impact of Alexander's invasion on India. So, of course, decimal system of rotation in mathematics is an Indian gift to Greece. They copied this decimal system of rotation from the Indians. So, any doubts, any questions? All clear? Can we go to the next chapter? Kumar says no. What happened, Kumar? Okay, fine. So, effects of Alexander's invasion. So, we have discussed this. Let us look at the questions. I forgot to mention that. Let us look at the question. We'll discuss the questions and then go to the next chapter. Match the following using the codes given below. Magadhan Emperor, territory conquered. Bimbisar. So what are the areas conquered by Bimbisar? Anga. He conquered Anga. Ajatashatru conquered the Lichavis of Vaishali. He conquered Vaishali. Mahapadmananda conquered Asmaka. And then Shishunaga conquered Avanti. So the answer is C. Then Ropana, the technique of transplantation of paddy, was mentioned for the first time in Paninish Ashtadhyayi. So this is a UPSC question. The year is missing. I could not get the year. So Ropana, paddy transplantation, was mentioned for the first time in Paninish Ashtadhyayi, a grammar book called Paninish Ashtadhyayi, written by Panini. Which of the following is incorrect about Panchmark coins? They are uninscribed. So that is correct. They are made up of either silver or copper. That is also correct. Then they bear one or multiple punches on them. That is correct. They can be definitely attributed to a particular king. That is, the name of the king is mentioned on these coins. That is not correct. So this This happened much later. You have a second Greek invasion. You see, understand this. Alexander's invasion is called first Greek invasion. In the post-Maurya period, that is after the Mauryan Empire declined, we have a second Greek invasion. That is the Bactrian Greeks who had settled in northern Afghanistan attacked India. They came into India. They're called Indo-Greeks. Those Indo-Greeks or Bactrian Greeks who issued coins had the name of their king embossed on their gold coins. So from that, we can reconstruct the history of the Greeks. So here in this context, the first Greek invasion, definitely that last statement is not correct. They can be definitely attributed to a particular king is not correct. Punch mark coins, that's not correct. What is Shantagara? This is again a UPSC question. This is the parliament in a republic. A parliament in Republican states is called Shantagara. Okay, or Gana Parishad. It is also called Gana Parishad. Gana Parishad. Which of the following kingdoms were Republican states in pre-Mauryan age? So we have Lichavis of Vaishali, the Vaideha, and Malla. Magadha and Avanti were monarchies. Then match the following king and name in Greek records. Ambhi. Ambhi is called Omphis. Okay, Chandragupta is called Chandrakotos. Bindusara is called Amitrochets or after Amitragata. Dhanananda is called Agrams by the Greek sources. So there's the answer. This is the end. Arey Baba. Post Maurya, how can post Maurya come? So, Gadbad. So, there is a mistake made by the backend team. Just hold on. It might have been by mistake. It should be Mauryas and then post Maurya. Okay. Can we just take a 5 minutes break and come back? We take a 5 minutes break and come back. Yeah? Just hold on. ಹೊಸಗುಪ್ತ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದಾನೆ.
ಎಂಡಿಗೆ ಹಾಕಿದಾರಾ?
ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದೇರ್. Sabir, it is not there. Okay, I'll do it. I will do whatever I can without the PPTs. Okay, don't worry. But then please don't make such mistakes. Yeah, it becomes difficult. Okay, I'll manage. Don't worry. Baad mein kao. Baad by baad kare. Okay, carry on. Bye. ನಾನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಬಿಡು. ಹಂಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಹಂಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಮೌರ್ಯಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಧ ಗಂಟೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ದು 8 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಹೊರಗಿದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್?
ಆಯ್ತು, ಅರ್ಧ ಗಂಟೆ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಎಷ್ಟಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬಿಡೋದು. ಬಿಡೋದು ಹಂಗೇನು ದೊಡ್ಡದೇ ಅನ್ಸಲ್ಲ.
ಇನ್ನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಪೇಜ್ ಉಳಿದಿದೆ ಸರ್? ಅದು ಪೇಜ್
ಅದಾಯ್ತದ ಪ್ರೀ ಮೌರ್ಯ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್. ಅವ್ನು ಏನ್ರಿ ಅವನು
ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ರೋಜಾ ಈಗ ಫಾಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ,
ಮುಸ್ಲಿಂ ಅವನು. ಆಯ್ತು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಏನೇ ಆಗಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಇವಾಗ ನಾವು ವೀಕ್ ಡೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ ಅದೇ ಪ್ಯಾಟರ್ನ್ ನಾನು ಯಾಕೆ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಹೇಳು? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ನಾನು ಚೆಕ್
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಮುಗಿಸ್ಬಿಡಿ 7:30 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ, ನಾಳೆ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನೋಡುತ್ತೆ.
ಬೇಡ, ಒಂದು ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡೋಣ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಏನನ್ಸೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಾ? ಏನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಬರೀ ಪಿಪಿಟ್ ಸೌಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ.
ಹೌದು, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್. ನೋಡಿ 15 to 20 minutes ಮಾಡಿ
ಮಾಡೋಣ, ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಓಕೆ, ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಹಿಯರ್. Okay, all of you are back. Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, let us go to the next chapter, Mauryan Empire. Yeah, let us go to the next chapter, Mauryan Empire. And of course, I don't have the PPTs of Mauryan Empire. That will be uploaded tomorrow. But then what I'll do is I will give you an overview of Mauryan Empire. Okay, I'll give you an overview of Mauryan Empire for about 20 minutes, half an hour, we'll see. And then we'll come back and start Mauryan Empire tomorrow with the PPTs. Is it fine, all of you? Okay. Hello, am I audible, visible? Can I continue? Students? Okay, now look here. Understand this, very simple. Mauryan Empire. Mauryan Empire. Mauryas ruled from 321 to 184 BCE. 321 to 184 BC. That is a period of 137 years. 90 plus 47. 137 years. They ruled for totally 137 years. Now, Kolano, I have about 25 minutes to go. I'll give you an overview of Mauryan Empire, okay, without the PPT. So listen to me. I am also keen to go home to my family, but then 25 minutes is precious time. We'll come back with the PPTs and then we can go faster tomorrow. Okay, so listen up. So I don't want to stop the class just because there's no PPT. I can manage without PPT, and please listen to my lecture till then. Right, Kola? So 90 years, we have the first three Mauryas ruling. Chandragupta Maurya, then Bindusar, his son Bindusar, and Ashoka. They ruled for 90 years. And then we have the later Mauryas, the successors, the sons and successors of Ashoka, who ruled for 47 years. They are called later Mauryas. Okay, and the Mauryan Empire collapsed like a pack of cards just after 137 years. Now understand this. Real Indian history, proper Indian history, or real Indian history begins from the Mauryan Empire onwards. Proper Indian history begins from the Mauryan Empire onwards. Why do we say this? Because we have authentic sources, reliable sources. We have reliable sources for the study of history of India from the Mauryan period onwards. So if you look at Stone Age, we rely on archaeology, right? Then we came to Harappan civilization. We again rely on archaeology because though the Harappans had a script, we are not able to read the script. And some information about Harappans we get from the Mesopotamians. And most of them are in the form of conjecture, intelligent guesswork. Vedic period, we rely on Vedic literature. And again, the information is derived from Vedic literature. It is deduced or derived, So again, we hypothesize on the basis of the Vedic literature, many aspects from the shlokas are interpreted, and then we have come to know how the polity could have been, the society, economy, etc. Pre-Maurya period also, we do not have much information except a few Buddhist books and Panini's Ashtadhyayi. And few coins we have got, Panchmark silver and copper coins. And of course, Alexander's invasion, we come to know through Greek sources. None of the Indian sources make a mention of Alexander. He came to the borders of India and left, and it did not impact our history as far as Indian writers are concerned. Right now, from the Mauryan period onwards, we have a lot of sources, reliable sources for the study of the history of the Mauryas as well as India. We rely on, of course, literary sources. So among the sources, we have literary sources. And among literary sources, we have foreign sources and we have indigenous sources. We have foreign sources and indigenous sources. So we have a number of foreigners who came to India during the Mauryan period and even after the Mauryan Empire collapsed. Plutarch, Justin, Diodorus, Megasthenes, Pliny the Elder, Arrian, etc. So Plutarch, Justin, Pliny the Elder, Arrian, Diodorus, so on and so forth. These Greek and Roman writers give us a lot of information about various aspects of Mauryan rule, polity, society, economy, etc. So these are the foreign sources, foreign writers who give us information. Then we have indigenous writers, local writers. And among the local writers, local literary sources, the most important is the Arthashastra written by Kautilya. So Kautilya is also called Chanakya or Vishnugupta or Kautilya. So he gives us a lot of information about Mauryan administration. And this document of Arthashastra was found in the Oriental Library, Mysore, in the year 1905 by Rudraparna Shama Shastri. Rudraparna Shama Shastri, expert on Sanskrit language and literature. So he, while sifting through the palm leaf manuscripts in this library or institution, this is a library which was built by the Wadayar kings of Mysore. And while he was sifting through the palm leaf manuscripts, and he was a Sanskrit Pandit, Rudraprana Shama Shastri was able to notice and read the uh, Arthashastra in the original. So it was discovered only in the year 1905 by accidentally, and he translated and transcribed the Arthashastra. He wrote it on fresh paper, and then later it was printed, translated into English, and printed also by him. So this also acts as a primary source of information for the study of the Mauryas, the Arthashastra of Kautilya. Arthashastra. So we have about 20,000 manuscripts in the library of Mysore. Mysore Library, Mysore University was built in 1916. I'm a product of that university. So it was built in 1916 by the Wadayar kings. So here, so we have literary sources. Then we also have archaeological sources. We have also archaeological sources for the study of the Mauryas. Among the archaeological sources, the most important are the edicts of Ashoka. The edicts of Ashoka. Edicts, what are edicts? They're royal messages. Royal messages. So Ashoka wanted to convey some things to his people, and he got them written on the surface of caves, on the surface of pillars, rocks, and caves. So therefore, they're called rock edicts, pillar edicts, rock edicts, and cave edicts. Right? He uses 3 languages and 4 scripts to write his information, to get his edicts written. He uses 3 languages and 4 scripts. We'll come to that in later. Prakrit, Greek, and Aramaic. He uses 3 languages and 4 scripts. Brahmi, Koroshti, Greek, and Aramaic. So these are the languages and scripts he uses. I'll talk about those details tomorrow. Don't worry. So we have a lot of information for the study of the Mauryas. Literary sources are there, which are divided to foreign and indigenous, and archaeological sources, among which edicts of Ashoka are the primary source of information. And these edicts are found throughout the length and breadth of India. And wherever these edicts have been found, we come to know the extent of the Mauryan Empire, how big the Mauryan Empire was. We come to know about that, right? So this is the gist of this chapter. This is the overview of this chapter I have just now given you. We have also, the distinctive pottery of this period, northern black polished ware. So we come to know the distinctive pottery of this period is northern black polished ware. Right. Now, nobody knew about Ashoka. Please understand, nobody knew about Ashoka till the year 1915. We are in 2024. Nobody knew about Ashoka till the year 1915. But then then you see most of the edicts of Ashoka are written in the Brahmi script. It is written in the Brahmi script and Prakrit language. Prakrit language. I told you he uses 3 languages. Ashoka uses 3 languages to convey his information. And then he uses 4 scripts. Now, what are the 3 languages? Prakrit, Greek, and Aramaic languages. And script, among scripts, he uses Brahmi, Kharoshti, Greek, and Aramaic scripts. So he uses 3 languages and 4 scripts. But then please understand, if I ask you a question, why does he use different script? Why doesn't he use the same script everywhere? Why does he use different script? Use your common sense. Very simple question. All of you? Yeah? Can you answer that? Why does he use different script? Security, Shilpa? No. Why should he feel insecure? Reach localized masses. Kola, you hit the bullseye. Very nice. People of that area would know that script. Gia, very good. So he uses those scripts due to uh, uh, whatever was the dominant script of that area, he uses that script. For example, imagine I'm Ashoka. Hypothetical example, let's say I'm Ashoka. I want to convey something to the people of Karnataka. I will use which language, which script? I will use Kannada script. If I want to convey something to the people of Maharashtra, I will use Marathi script. To the people of Tamil Nadu, I'll use Tamil script, like that. So the script varies depending upon which was the most popular script or most popular script and language used by the people of that area. So he wanted to convey his message to the maximum number of people. If he uses an alien script in a totally different place where people don't know how to read that script, what is the purpose of he inscribing that message on those pillars, rocks, and caves? So his script and language varies from place to place. But then please understand, predominantly he uses one script and one language throughout India. Which is that language? He uses the Prakrit language. Throughout India, he uses mostly the Prakrit language and the Brahmi script. And please understand, we have this scholar of the East India Company, an officer of the East India Company called James Prinsep. James Prinsep deciphered the Brahmi script in the year 1837. In the year 1837, he deciphered the Brahmi script. He was able to read the Brahmi script. Till then, it was Greek and Latin for everybody. Nobody knew what was written there because they couldn't make sense of those letters. James Prinsep was able to read that script. He deciphered that script and he was able to read that script. And he taught that script to many people. Many people learned Ashokan's Brahmi script from James Prinsep and they were able to read it. And then when they were able to read it, they saw a king who was claiming himself to be Devanam Piyadasi. Devanam Piyadasi. Either Devanam Piya or Piyadasi. So Devanam Piya says this, Piyadasi says that, etc., etc. And people were confused. Historians, archaeologists were confused. Who the hell is this person calling himself to be Devanam Piya? Devanam Piya in Pali, Devanam Priya in Sanskrit, beloved of the gods. Devanam Priya is beloved of the gods, and Piyadasi, one who is dear to behold. One who is dear to behold. That's the meaning of Piyadasi, one who looks on auspiciousness. One who looks on auspiciousness. Piyadasi likes to say this, Devanam Piya wants to tell this, like that. So people got confused. And ultimately, in the year 1915, and I'll tell you one, to add to the confusion of the people, we have about a dozen kings in Indian history, ancient Indian history, who had taken the title of Devanampiya, beloved of the gods. So people were very confused because more than a dozen kings have claimed this title as Devanampiya. Ultimately, in the year 1915, at a place called Musky, in the Raichur district of Karnataka, we found an edict. We found a message of Ashoka, where Ashoka uses his personal name, Ashoka Piyadasi. And this was corroborated, substantiated, supported by the Ceylonese chronicles. We have the books of Sri Lanka, Dvipavamsha, Mahavamsha. In those books written by the Buddhist Sri Lankan monks, we have the name Devanam Piyadasi along with Ashoka used. So the historians were able to pinpoint, and say that this king, who was claiming himself to be Devanam Piyadasi, was none other than Ashoka. So the world came to know about this king called Ashoka only in the year 1915. Right now, James Prinsep was an officer of the East India Company. Suresh, he was an officer in the East India Company, and he was the one who was able to decipher the Ashokan Brahmi script. Now, please understand, Ashoka was his personal name. Ashoka was his personal name. Okay. Piyadasi was his official name. And Devanam Piya was the royal title, general royal title of the period. General royal title of the period taken by many kings, not just Ashoka. So Ashoka was his personal name, Piyadasi was his official name, and mostly he uses his official name or the general royal title of that particular period. And the word Ashoka is only found at 4 places. The word Ashoka, that is Ashoka's personal name, is only found at 4 places. 3 are in Karnataka and 1 is in Madhya Pradesh. So the one which is in Madhya Pradesh is at a place called Gujjara. This is in Madhya Pradesh. And then we have Musky, Nittur, a place called Nittur, and Udegolam. These 3 are in Karnataka. So these are the only 4 places in India where till now, where we have come to, where we see Ashoka using his personal name. But recently, a few years back, at a place called in the Gulbarga district or Kalaburgi district, in the Kalaburgi district of Karnataka, some years back, we have a village called Kanaganahalli. Kanaganahalli. This was a UPSC question asked. We'll look at the questions later. At a village called Kanaganahalli in the Kalaburgi district of Karnataka, we have Ashoka using the word Ranyo Ashoka, King Ashoka. So this becomes the 5th place. This becomes the 5th place where we have the word Ashoka mentioned by Ashoka. King Ashoka. He's shown on a sculpture with his queens and attendants. Saranya Ashoka. So 4 places till now, and then recently Kanaganahalli in the Kalaburgi district of Karnataka. So 5 places where we find the word Ashoka mentioned. So we have apart from the edicts of Ashoka, we also have Artha Shastra, which gives us a lot of information. Please understand, nowhere in the Artha Shastra is it mentioned that Chanakya was the prime minister of Chandragupta Maurya. It is nowhere mentioned. But he gives so much of details of administration, central administration, provincial administration, district administration, local administration, village administration, the city administration of Patliputra, etc., etc. He gives so much of information in detail that historians have no choice but to believe only a prime minister could have known so much of details of administration. So it is presumed that Chanakya was the prime minister of Chandragupta Maurya. He couldn't have been anybody else. Now, this is in Sanskrit language, the Arthashastra, and from that we come to know a lot about Mauryan administration. Again, we have the Indica of Megasthenes. So there was a general of Alexander. Alexander had died. He had a general called Seleucus Nicator. And Chandragupta Maurya defeated this Seleucus Nicator and married the daughter of Seleucus Nicator by name Helena. So Chandragupta Maurya defeated Seleucus Nicator, one of the generals of Alexander, and married his daughter Helena. This Seleucus Nicator sends an ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya. His name was Megasthenes. So Megasthenes comes to the Mauryan court, and he writes a book called Indica. So Indica, of course, the original Indica has been lost. We don't know where it went. But many Greek and Roman writers quote from the Indica. They had read the Indica, these Greek and Roman writers. So from these Roman writers and Greek writers, indirectly, we come to know a lot about what Megasthenes had observed about the Mauryan Empire. Megasthenes talks about the Mauryan military administration, about the city administration of Patliputra, about the city, about the society of the Mauryas, etc. So he gives us a lot of information. So from the Mauryan period onwards, real Indian history begins because we have a lot of reliable sources. So tomorrow's class we will discuss about the origin of the Mauryas, who these Mauryas were. There are some theories as regards who these Mauryas were. What are the sources for the study of the Mauryas? Literary sources, archaeological sources, edicts of Ashoka, different types of edicts, what languages they are found in, what script they are used, what is the script found in those edicts, important pillars of Ashoka, right? Important rock edicts of Ashoka, what is the information they contain, etc., etc. And then we'll come to the political history, Chandragupta Maurya, who conquered everything from parts of Afghanistan to the Vindhyas, to the central India. Everything was conquered by him. He ruled for 24 years, Chandragupta Maurya. And there was a famine in Magadha. Patliputra was the capital of the Magadhan kings, of the Mauryan kings, right? So there was a famine which lasted for 12 years, we are told, and a group of Jain monks were migrating towards South India. Chandragupta Maurya, having ruled for 24 years, hand over the throne to his son Bindusar. He became a Digambar monk, and he also came away to South India, to the present region of Karnataka, to a place called Shravana Belagola. And there, in a cave in one of the hills called Chandragiri Hills, that hill is named after him, he stayed there for many years and he committed Sallekkhana. The fascinating person, Chandragupta Maurya, he overthrew the Nandas, he defeated the general of Alexander, Seleucus Nicator, and he conquered everything from parts of Afghanistan to the river to the Vindhya mountains, to central India. And with nothing, by giving away everything to his son Bindusara, comes away to South India, and he dies here in Shravanabelagola, in Karnataka, present day Hassan district of Karnataka. Then we talk about Bindusar, his contribution. Then Ashoka, what is Dhamma, Ashoka's conquest, and his policy of Dhamma. What was the idea behind the policy of Dhamma? What happened to the Mauryan Empire after the death of Ashoka? Mauryan central administration, local administration, city administration, etc., etc. Mauryan society, economy, art and architecture. I'll cover it as part of art and culture topic, Mauryan art and architecture, and the decline of the Mauryas. There are a few theories given by scholars as to why the Mauryan Empire declined. We'll talk about it. And then we'll go to the next chapter, post-Maurya period. This is the gist of the topic called Mauryan Empire. So even with the PPTs, I would have done the same thing. So therefore, no loss. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time, 10 o'clock in the morning, and we will have a long day. So you come, be prepared for it. We'll finish ancient India tomorrow and start with medieval India. And let me see if I can finish early part of medieval India also. So you have a great day, rather great evening, and we'll meet tomorrow morning. Is it fine? Any doubts? Hemlata, I am half Maharashtrian. Yeah, doesn't matter. My personal things. You are you clear with me? Are you all of you? Can we call it a day? Thank you. You have a good night, and then we'll meet tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Okay, Bara. Thank you.